And we're live. G'day, welcome to the Thunder from Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Graham Solomon, and this is actually our first podcast for 2025. Had some time off last year and refreshed and back for a new year. And I start the year with a very entrepreneurial lady that I've been Facebook friends with and been communicating with. Her name is Jennifer Stewart, and she's going to come on and tell us about a lot of the stuff that she does in the real estate space in the US. Now, thanks for coming in, Jennifer. It was on fairly short notice. We've been doing some voicemails and bits and pieces, but I appreciate you coming on. If you'd just like to introduce yourself and give the audience just a little bit of a background on yourself and how you got into the real estate space.
Yeah, hi, Graham. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. Congratulations on taking your break. I know how great that can be and also how great it feels to come back and be useful to humanity and society after spending a lot of time taking a break, right? So thanks for having me, your first guest. So like I was kind of explaining to Graham right before the show, is that I both find and fund deals for investors. I help them. I don't do it for you, but I help you guys find deals. I have 180 virtual assistants who specialize in finding these deals, whether it's by doing lead gen with cold calling or doing as a lead manager, following up on lead sources that you already have, like mailers, PPC, TV, radio, side of a bus. Somebody has to get on the phone with those sellers at some point, and that's what we specialize in. And then on the other side, I also fund deals and I broker money as well. And so I'm able to do single family. However, I do specialize and prefer commercial. Now, of course, most of us are going to be in the single family space, but I know that there's a lot of competition in that space. And so I'm just another voice in a busy crowd. But in commercial, I feel like I can really stand out because of the platform that I use and the connections that I've built in networking. So if you're into multifamily apartments, if you're doing any type of retail, or if you're doing warehouses, storage facilities, development, ground up RV parks, that's what I like to see. And that's the long and short of it, Graham.
So Jennifer, what you can actually do is if someone comes to you, an investor comes to you, you've got enough contacts to basically take them through the whole process from lead gen through to finance, through the whole system. And we're just talking about you've got a network of VAs, and are they able to use that network of VAs
yes,
to go through that? And if so, how does that work? How does that look?
Right. So our services stop once the property is completely purchased. So I don't have anything to do with maintenance or rehabilitation, meaning fixing up the properties. I'm not a contractor, although I do try to stay literate in those practices. I do go to a class every Tuesday with the Rehabber's Playbook with Brandon Lindsay to kind of learn just that way so I can be literate. And it's good to be literate in other parts of the business, even if you don't take part in it or offer those services, just so you can at least know what people are talking about. And nor do I have anything to do with property management.
Yep.
So I don't do everything, but hopefully I can do everything related to both finding and funding deals for people. So if they come to me and they say, hey, Jennifer, I need an apartment complex on the coast of Texas in a certain area, right? And I don't want to say which one because they can be really competitive and they don't want people to know where the sweetest spots are, right? So to protect my paying clients, there are some sweet spots for apartments, right? And they'll say, hey, Jen, can you help me do acquisitions on this apartment complex? Can you have your people call? And so then what we do is we pull a list of whether people are looking for single family, multifamily, triplexes, duplexes, whatever it is you're looking for. And of course, the majority of my clients, and I'd say probably 90%, are looking for single family. So you just tell me, we can get as granular as the zip code. Tell me, what type of properties do you want to find in those zip codes or counties, towns? And then for bigger stuff like, the mobile home parks, et cetera, we probably have to pull by the state. Or self-storage, we need to pull that data by the state. And then my people will call on these lists of properties. So that's pulling the data, right? And then we skip trace it where we have to find the phone numbers and email address. And then we can call and email those people if they ask, I mean, typically people don't ask us to email. They just ask us to do the calling and call them. And then we have the conversations to see if we can move them down the decision-making timeline. We get condition of the property, just the usual 4 pillars. For anyone who's new to this, they're going to be price, which is kind of last in terms of priority. Motivation, why do they want to sell, which is true even in commercial. Motivation matters there as well. Although people think not as much, I would say maybe even more so. And then we have condition of the property. Does it need a lot of CapEx in commercial? Have they done a lot of work to it in single family? What type of upgrades have they done, right? And so we have price, timeline, condition. So back to the timeline. With timeline, we want to know, when do they want to sell? And this is all the information that we have to obtain from people who really don't want to talk to us. Talking to cold callers over the phone. Like, my first job was in a grocery store as a bagger girl, right? We called it a courtesy clerk. Back whenever they paid people to bag groceries. That's dating me. But at one point, that was something you could take for granted in the United States, was that someone's going to bag those groceries for you. And the manager at the time, bless his heart, bald guy, big thick glasses, big belly hanging over his belt, And he said, guys, people don't want to come to the grocery store, and just remember that and make it as pleasant as possible. Well, that's infinitely even more true whenever it comes to talking to someone who calls you intrusively over the phone and says, hey, can we buy your house at an insultingly low discount?
Yeah.
So you have to be a master of getting people's attention, keeping them on the phone, not pissing them off, and then that word isn't going to demonetize or anything, is it?
No, you're right. No.
Okay, good. And upsetting them, and then you need to get all the information that you need to get in order to know whether or not they actually want to sell, right?
Okay. So with the VAs, they're actually a part of your team. You don't hire them out. They're a part of your team to do the stuff that you need to do for your clients. That's sort of how all that. So
if I have all of my internal team full, I will recommend overflow to third parties.
Yeah.
Because I believe in hiring very, very slowly and only hiring the best. That's why I'm expensive, Graham. My people are $13.50 an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. But I hire them very slowly, and there's a relatively limited amount compared to the VAs out there. So I've been at 180 for a long time. I just now hired a new one this past week because my 180 are full. But it was only because he came to me from a very high quality source. I do have $5 an hour cold callers that I kind of third party out.
Yeah.
But I do not have control over those guys. Okay. They're just people that are kind of my overflow people that I trust to, a fellow agency owner to do an adequate job. My people do an excellent job. $5 an hour, you can get, I don't know what kind, maybe adequate, but where we're at, you're going to have an excellent full-time professional who lives, breathes, and sleeps this material.
Did I see on was it a post you did yesterday or today or something about you're looking for US cold callers? Was that a post you've just recently done? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. But I've been bombarded, and unfortunately, it's mostly people that I know personally that I would not want to babysit a plant. And so I have to awkwardly just say, oh, yeah, that position's filled, or say nothing at all. But yeah, I mean, one really good American that could literally just show up, read a script, do a good job, and then stay with me for years and years and years, that'd be great. 30 to 40 an hour is pretty realistic with the cost of groceries, eggs, etc. So, but that's typically not a real estate hire. Most people in real estate don't have that kind of cash and bandwidth. It seems to be a race to the bottom for some reason on price and quality. But it's usually people who have other types of contracts outside of real estate who come to me, because before I specialized in real estate 9 years ago, I was more of a generalist. And so I do still attract random things like, lighted mirrors from Russia or rubber factories out of China, which is separate from the task or the topic of this podcast. But yes, I do get different types of companies all around the world who come to me from the reputation that I had built before I got into real estate. So
you're in Texas, aren't you? You're in Texas. What part of Texas are you in?
I'm about an hour north of Dallas, just south of Oklahoma.
Okay. Yep. And do you find that you've attracted a lot of clients from Texas or all over the country? Is it?
All over the country. It'll cluster because one person will tell their buddies how good of a job I'm doing, and then I'll end up with all these people in like Richmond, Virginia, or all these people in New Hampshire, or all these people in Colorado. So I notice it kind of pops up in clusters based on who's telling who about my services.
Yeah. And what about international? You just mentioned, do you get many international people that are looking to, say, build a portfolio in the States?
No, I really have not. But I actually am going to be brokering with a new company here in about a month for single family that will loan to foreign nationals. So I haven't courted that business yet just because I have some work to do with my commercial loan through ComLoan that I need to get caught up on. But then once I'm, fully through all my ComLoan stuff that I need to do to get in their ecosphere a little bit more deeply, then I can, take on more single family type loan brokering where I can help foreign nationals, because I do occasionally get a foreign national and some of them seem really solid. I mean, as you can imagine, I get approached by all kinds of crazy people and, Africa and in the Middle East, right? And so I don't always know who to take seriously or how to vet the national buyers. That's my challenge there. You can probably help me with that at some point.
Well, I was just going to say, there's a market for Australian investors looking to invest in the States because of the cash flow. And our market's more appreciation. So I think you've got the right guy here to help you with some internationals. I know people in Europe and all that sort of stuff, and there's becoming a bigger market of people wanting to invest in the US because of the flexibility. I mean, you've got stuff like seller finance as well. You've got other ways. You've got wholesaling. You've got a heap of stuff. And I've had a lot of people in Australia reach out to me about wholesaling even and say, what's that all about? And can you do it in Australia? And I say, no, you can't, but you can do it in the States. So, I think more and more you're going to have a lot of people wanting to build portfolios in the States from other countries. So that could be something you could look at with, have some people scattered around the world that could bring you business, and there you go. You're the right person for the job.
A global market share is my favorite kind of market share. So yes, that motivates me to get on with that broker and help foreign nationals be able to purchase properties. And then you'll be the first one I contact and see if we can build a community together. Those people.
Yeah, I know. I do know that over the years I've met people. There's a lot of people in Israel that do it, and there's people in Europe. I've been in a couple of groups in the US. There's been a guy from Spain, a girl from London, and there's different people. So I think it's now that we've got like such a virtual market within the States, I think it will spread more and more. I mean, I know people from Australia have been investing in America for years, but to have a system now where basically you do everything you set up the corp, you set up the LLCs, you source the properties, you get all that sort of stuff. And with multifamily to be even better, there's a real market coming up for it because, even in Australia, it's very hard to even buy a house personally, let alone investment property.
Wow. So how do people exist? Are they renting a lot, or how does it work there?
The younger generations are probably renting more now and are less likely to get excited about buying a home because it's just getting so expensive. It's very similar to the Canadian market where prices are really high and you get appreciation. Like every 7 to 12 years, the property will double, so you make your money there. But you're generally negatively geared, so you've got to put money each week out yourself. So if you're trying to build a portfolio, you can just be pouring it. You've got to have a very high-paying job. Whereas the States, and this is a thing, say for an Australian, if you've got a portfolio of half a dozen duplexes that are positively geared, bringing money back into your country that's $5,000 is $7,500 Australian, that can supplement your cash flow loss in Australia. So it's a good business strategy, and then you can have some free holidays to the States as well to go and Disneyland and that while you're checking your properties in Florida.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I see a lot of foreigners in the national parks all the time. Yeah, it's really great.
America has got the best real estate market in the world. I don't care what anyone says. It is just amazing. I scream from the rooftops because you can do lease options, seller finance, like sub-twos. If I walked around Australia talking about sub-twos, I'll be put in a straitjacket and locked up for the rest of my life. Like, people would say, people say, "Are you kidding me? You can't do that. Why would someone do that?" And then you jump in an American group, and people are doing sub twos and seller finance wraps and all that, and you go, "Hang on, I've got to change my reality. You can actually do this, but just not in our country." So, I just love it, and I think for someone like yourself, Jennifer, you could build up people around the world that bring you clients, and then you could work with someone within the States to do the nuts and bolts for you, the heavy lifting.
I'm also a mother too, and so to know that there are people around the world who need this help, kind of tugs on my nurturing side. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
not that the two sides are mutually exclusive, but of course I have to have a very, very stern business side to achieve what I achieve and hopefully continue to grow. But of course, I'm a mom too, and so I don't like to hear about people not having the freedom to do the things that they could be doing in terms of leverage. Especially people who are responsible citizens who want to contribute and who are doing the right thing and want to do the right things for their families. I mean, we all hear in the news about, the bad stories, but there are, as we all know, that's just skewed crap to get views and money. I mean, the real deal is that most foreign nationals come here and kill it because they see how much more they can get by turning that leverage. Everyone I know here that comes here legally, it ends up becoming extraordinarily wealthy in about 10 years because they don't leave any opportunities on the table. The lady who used to do my eyelash extensions, she owns several commercial buildings because she took all of her money, lived well below her means, saved up like $1 million, and then broke it into 3 different, but like Millionaire Next Door, all of them, right? And so now she owns all these commercial buildings, but she still does eyelashes because a lot of, I notice, foreign folks come over and yet they have all these assets. They keep working. They just keep working.
They keep working. Yeah, it's the same over here. A lot of Australia's been built up on immigration from different nationalities coming over the years. It's very multicultural. And I'm in Victoria, Melbourne, where Melbourne is, and they built a lot of the people that have immigrated do the whole building a portfolio over years. They might be Italian concreters or something, and they work hard and do it and that. But they keep working, and they just keep working, and they hand it over when they retire to the sons. That they do the business, they keep building, and it's really good to see because it's like America, it's an opportunity to come from somewhere where you can't even have clean drinking water to a place where you can actually have opportunity and build up. So now that's a great point. That's a great point, Jennifer. And that's what I foresee with America. I just go, wow, give me a year or 2 years in America, and I think you could. And like you said, when you talk about abundance and actually making money in real estate, then you teach other people how to do it, and you have the ripple effect, and then you've got money not just for your own lifestyle, but to actually, you support charities and that. So I think if the ethics are there, real estate's a great vehicle to help other people. And if you've come from nothing and you've done it, you can inspire other people to do the same. And I think that's a great thing. And I'm looking to get out to America at some time. I've been threatening for the last 2 years, but hopefully this year. And I've made a lot of, had a lot of friends that I've built up over the last couple of years. I just can't wait to get there. And I always grab them virtually in the Thunderdome here. I grab them and shake them and say, you do not realise what you've got out there, the opportunity that you've got out there. It's just so captivating.
And I didn't even realize to what extent you told me.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I've got another mate over here that does wholesaling and that, and we just go, just get us out there. We want to get out there and spend a year. I'm a trade. I've got a trade background, so I just see beautiful duplexes, and I just want to get the spray gun out and paint them and fix them and rent them out and go to the next one. I see whole blocks, say like in Ohio, in Cleveland or Toledo, and I look at a house and the whole street, I'm like, oh man, I could just fix those houses up. But there's plenty of opportunity because over here we don't have like boarded up houses or anything. We've got if there's an old house, it'll just get demolished and they'll build a new one straight away because of the market's so high. So you'll get your money back. And when I just look on Zillow or something, I'm looking through and or say PropStream, and I look and I do a street view, and there's a really nice street and it's got 5 boarded up houses in it. I'm just going, what? How does that happen? That 5 houses are sitting there boarded up in a really nice street? But you guys have got 360 million people. That's why. We've got.
How many do you have in Australia?
We've only got about 26 million, less than Texas.
Oh, wow. And yet it's such a big geographic area.
Yeah. So everything in real estate is very slow and cumbersome over here. It's very slow. Got to go through a realtor. Got to go through the bank. You start accumulating a few properties. They say, oh, you're too much of a risk now. We can't lend you any more money. Whereas the States, you get a block there, you go, all right, I'll get some seller finance deals and I'll keep going and I'll do
a portfolio loan and you can do a cash out refi on a portfolio.
Yeah, that's what
your next one.
We could spend an hour just talking about that. So that's what I'm saying. Like for someone like yourself who does this for people, if you started looking, in the next 5 years of, right, I'm going to start building portfolios for people outside of Australia, maybe I don't want to do all the back end of it. I'll get someone who'll set the management up at the back end. But there's a big market there because, once again, I've got sons, say, in their 20s. They would be better off investing in the States than they would be in Australia. They just can't afford to do it in Australia. It's just too hard. They're struggling to get. So someone like myself would be encouraging them and their mates, look, you want some investments, go and do that over there. And the money that comes back in is positive money, and you can use that here. So, obviously, you've got tax and all that sort of stuff. But if you set it up as a structure and you're young and you start doing it now, there's massive opportunity. So I've just given you a 5-year plan, Jennifer. If you weren't busy enough now you're going to have to hire 3 more Jennifers to do what you need to do. So
no, I love it. Like I said, I'm very serious about building a global market share, which is why I joined EXP, because EXP does have a place for a global market share, and I can have people in Australia join me in EXP from Australia, which then allows me to mentor them kind of meaningfully in terms of at least initiating these concepts and discussing it with them. Now, clearly, they would need a local mentor or doing anything, Australian real estate related, but we can always interact in a way that's meaningful. If, someone is a realtor in Australia and says, hey, Jen, I want to invest in the U.S. and I want that kind of access to you, that's another way that we could partner.
Yeah, I think there is actually, what is it? The one that you work, the one that you're.
Yeah, EXP. It's global. It's
it's in Australia. Yeah, I was talking to a friend about it. Yeah. So once again, I could go out and get a license here in Melbourne and do Melbourne, and you could find people around the country. That's what I'm saying. This is going to grow and grow. I mean, I just started finding out about this US real estate and signed up my first contract, and then COVID hit. And it was such a prehistoric world back then. Then COVID went, and then all of a sudden everything went virtual. And then, like I said, I've had a bit of time off now, and I've just jumped on in a few groups watching what's going on. And they're using AI to do stuff, and I'm just like, wow, we're at a point now where it's going to become the US real estate market will be, people from around the world will be investing in it, because you can't do in most of the countries around the world what you can do in the States. So people are going to start getting creative and going, well, what's stopping me? I mean, we're doing this interview. I'm sitting down near the beach at Phillip Island in Melbourne, and you're in Texas, and we're sitting here talking. And I'm sure a lot of your clients you do via Zoom or you do via
all of them.
Yeah. So this is a new world, and all it takes is some people that a few visionaries to get in there and say, well, how do we set it up? And now with the technology, bang, all of a sudden you're away. And it's just, I've been talking to Australians about this for a year or 2 years, and Australians are like, why would I go over? It's a long way. I go, yeah, but things are changing now. It's not a long way.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, because you can get on Zoom.
Yeah.
And Absolutely. And look, our government's trying to limit our rights here too, especially with seller financing and
Yeah.
trying to regulate wholesaling to where you have to have your license. I
I
got
was-
my license for a few reasons. Because mine's just for referral purposes and also to build teams, and also I had to have access to hedge funds as well, which EXP does very well. The hedge funds, are kind of those corporate buyers, and so you can wholesale your deals to the hedge funds, which you can easily access through EXP, and EXP is wholesale friendly. So
Yep.
that being said, our government is trying to limit what we can do here as well. And for no other reason, probably than it's profitable and it sets us free and it makes it so we don't have to be W-2 slaves. They
Yeah.
would use the use of abuse, but I don't think abuse is actually rampant enough to justify the amount of effort put into trying to legislate us out of business. The only thing that makes sense is they want to keep us stuck and oppressed because it suits their purposes. So there's a point to saying that. My attorney, Mr. Jeff Watson, is a lobbyist for our purposes, which is a legal enterprise here in the United States. You can lobby your government. So I send my attorney checks to lobby specific congressmen who may be a more conservative liberal or a more liberal conservative. In other words, kind of your swing vote person. And
Yeah.
that's who really gets targeted by the lobbyists. So in that way, you get a lot of flack from your party, but you get a lot of attention from lobbyists.
Yeah, well,
So that's what we do.
you can't wait for someone else to do it. You've got to get involved yourself, and that's the thing. I think recently in world politics, people are realizing now you have to get involved and you have to start a movement. And that's just the way it is. The old power to the people type thing. You've got to, and if you're in real estate and they're trying to legislate stuff, you have to stand up and get all your buddies involved and say, no, we're not going to accept this.
We do. And what's funny is these aren't young bucks. I'm just going to say this. Instead of young bucks, it's old old F words, okay?
Yep.
It's the old F words who get together and make this happen. Your white hairs,
Yeah.
They do not want their retire messed with. They remember a better America. They
Yeah.
remember a freer America. And
Yeah.
it is not going to go down easily while those old buzzards are still alive.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Jennifer. This is once again, you say if people are doing the wrong thing or the right thing. This is where, like, say, for instance, with yourself, you have to attract and monitor the people around you, because you can't have people coming in doing the wrong thing and messing it up for everyone. And that's where it's up to every individual with their network to monitor their network. And if someone's going outside to pull them aside and say, you can't do that, and if they say, well, I'll do what I want, you say, all right, well, you're out of my network. I don't accept that.
We do police each other in that way.
Yeah.
It's a very tight-knit network, and someone like myself who draws a lot of attention to myself on purpose.
Yeah.
That is whenever you're especially held to a higher moral standard. So whenever I was younger, I could say whatever, I could do whatever, because I wasn't being groomed for leadership. I wasn't seeking leadership. I was just a humble acquisitionist, right? And I did a lot more, stuff that doesn't, just saying things or hanging out with people who maybe, weren't exactly winning in life. Not that they were bad people. They just didn't have the same responsibility on their shoulders, and it showed, right? And so it's like the more responsibility you take on and the more attention you draw to yourself to build a business, the higher standards you have to have. And you're right. So that being said, if someone's doing something that's unethical, like this one guy tried to attack me publicly, and I had this person who won't name names do a deep dive on this guy, and he had this insane long rap sheet criminal record. And then I made that public because it's like, no, man, I'm not a perfect person, but I definitely didn't do what you say I did. And I have electronic proof of that because I run a virtual business. Everything I do, I have proof, which is really good.
Yeah.
And so I proved that what he was saying was incorrect.
Yep.
Then conversely, my friends, again, we're a community. It wasn't me who looked into him. It was my friends who looked. It's good to have friends, guys, especially smart friends. They looked into him, and then we were able to expose him publicly as a bad actor. And he has been completely excommunicated from the community in an unofficial capacity that he cannot come back from, and he may or may not be in jail.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you have to be a good person. You need to be an ethical person. If you think you're going to pull something, this is not the industry to do that. If you're going to be pulling stuff, you need some low paying fast food job. Maybe that's the type of space where you can get away with stuff. But if you're dealing with hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in capital, you better be as squeaky clean as the queen's bathroom. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
do you think
Yeah.
when Queen Elizabeth was alive, she got into a bathtub with a ring around it every day? No, I bet as soon as she got out of that bath every day, they were in there cleaning it. And that's how
Yeah.
clean you need to be if you're going to be dealing with hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars of other people's money.
Yeah, that's right. Because those people are pretty savvy, and they're going to do their checks on you, and they're going to be saying, we're going to put our money here. We need to make sure this person's right, and they probably get a few tests up front to make sure that you handle yourself well. The other thing that takes me to the other thing, which is you must be a great networker. You do put yourself out there a lot, and like I said, you're on social media, you're everywhere. You're on podcasts, you're doing that. So, is that something that you've always been good at, or that's something that you've built up more recently?
I got lucky. So I just got lucky. I was posting. I paid to be in this mentorship group called Rehab Evaluator Inner Circle with Jim Ingersoll. By the way, he would love to have people from other country in his group. So just go to rehabevaluator.com. I don't have affiliate with him, but he is my good buddy and definitely deserves the kudos because I've been in that group now for 6 years almost. I still show up most Wednesdays. Rehabevaluator.com. And then you go to, there's like an education section. You can join the inner circle. I think it's like another $40 a month in addition to buying the software, which evaluates rehabs. If you're buying them, it tells you the ARV, the rehab cost. But, it calculates the cost of money and if you're actually going to make any profit on the deal. So I use it whenever I'm analyzing flips. And so basically, I ended up friending Jim Ingersoll on Facebook about 6 years ago. And he, people will watch you for a while. If you're drawing attention to yourself, people are going to watch you and just see what you're about. Are you consistent? You don't wait to see if you slip up. Are you crazy, right? Are you crazy? And not in a good way, right? In a liability type way. And I would post a lot really out of loneliness and boredom because I would be on the phone from 8 a.m. until 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday on the phone with sellers as just a humble cold caller myself.
Yeah.
And so I'd be so bored and I would just post like, okay, I talked to this seller today and this is what we talked about and how funny it was. And here's what they said. And here's how I overcame this objection. Just bored and lonely. I mean, truly, like no other motivation, right? I mean, it's almost sad, honestly, how bored and lonely I was sitting at home making these calls 15 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, just to pay the bills. And that's what I mean by I got lucky. And then Jim Ingersoll sees all of he said, Jennifer, you talk to more people on the phone than anyone that I know.
Yeah.
And
a lot of talking. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. I think we had a little bit of a lag there, but I hope we're coming back.
Yeah, keep going. I think I might cut you off. I think my voice sort of cut you off. So you go.
Let me see if I need to change my internet source here. Now I am plugged in via a hard wire. Does that help at all?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. You're a lot clearer with the picture too from when we started. It's cleared the picture up. Oh, now I couldn't hear you then. I could. Your mouth was moving, but I couldn't hear any volume. Hang on.
Okay.
I can now. Got you back.
We better? Okay, good. Well, maybe you might need to edit that part out. Sorry.
We're live.
Oh, we are. Okay, gotcha. Well, so we're back. So you can see how to kind of like that loneliness and boredom. I was able to, attract. Right, I just attracted someone who appreciated the skills that I was putting in, the reps I was putting in, and after like maybe 2 years, it's about 2 years of Jim kind of watching me. He's like, I came and I went to this event, so basically saw I was capable of showing up to an event, traveling, and then he was like, well, hey, do you want to come speak at my event? And I thought I was doing him a favor, right? It turns out he was doing me the biggest favor of my life. So after he put me on stage in front of hundreds of investors, I was discovered, basically. kind of like if you're playing baseball in Little League and just
Yeah.
a talent scout just happens to be there and brings you. And then before you know it, you're a freaking superstar, right? And you're just, I was just doing it to pay the bills. I didn't think it was what I would do forever because, gosh, the pay really wasn't that good. And I was just doing it as something I could do from home while my babies were little.
And consistency. That's the number one. You said that before. Because you're there, you're doing all those hours, you're consistently posting, and that probably is what impressed people, who reach out to you. It's like, oh, well, she's consistent. Everyone else is coming and going, but Jennifer's there day in, day out. So a lot of people say consistency is the key to anything you do. So obviously, yeah. And I was just thinking about it then. We're talking about networking, and I actually, we're Facebook friends, and I'd seen your stuff on Facebook, but we actually were in it wasn't a webinar, but like a little training thing from Martine Richardson, and it was about using other people's money to build up rental portfolio. And that's where I actually said, is anyone in the group I'm starting my podcast again next year? Because she said, anyone, want to network? And I put that in there, and that's where you said, yep, I'm in, I'm coming in. So you also take advantage of opportunities. Like no one else asked to come in. You were the only one that replied. So,
wow.
Yeah. So once again, you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to put yourself out there. And
look, I get told no. I get told, you're not exactly what I'm looking for. Or in some cases, you're too expensive. Maybe sometimes you're too wild, although I don't feel like I'm particularly wild, and maybe that's just their word for being a female running a relatively larger business. I don't know. I don't think you can be wild and run a big business. You need to be pretty boring, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you need to be pretty consistent in your activities, and you can't be wild and consistent. That's the thing. That's why drugs are no good. That's why alcohol. I mean, I know you guys have a different culture over there with alcohol, which it sounds like kind of a fun holiday compared to how uptight we are around here. Myself included in that. But I don't feel like, at least the way we do alcohol over here, that you can really do a lot of alcohol and be consistent, in your activities.
That would be more probably with your tradesmen and all that sort of stuff. Guys just going to work each day, working on sites. What I would say is, in the US culture, you guys are a lot more driven. You're a lot more driven, especially in the entrepreneurial space, and a lot more driven. The working class people in Australia, they'll hit the pub but even that, I don't drink. I've had my times in the past where I've probably gone a bit too crazy, and that's probably the Australian culture, is a bit of a binge drinking culture. But you learn your lesson. I'm older now, so I've got other things that I want to achieve. So you sort of learn that, you said, that you can't burn the candle at both ends, or else you're not going to do anything right. You're not going to be a good drinker or a good business person. So you've got to pick yourself together. And I played footy at a footy club, and that's pretty Australian grassroots. And a lot of the guys are still good drinkers now. So I could compete and beat them back in the day, but now I don't. I've got no need to. I've got other stuff to do. But yeah, we have got a bit of a drinking culture over here, which is good in a way socially, but it's not good if people take it too far. And a lot of the younger people are now starting to drink less. Like I know my sons, they'll in our day, we wouldn't get home till 7 a.m. They'll go home at 1 o'clock and do sensible stuff. I'm like, what's that all about, But this is what I'm saying. The world's changing. People are choosing different things now. It's just the rite of passage you used to take. You don't have to take it anymore. There's not that pressure, that peer group pressure.
I tried to explain that to my son, because he's like, Mom, why did you date so much? And ecstasy was big 20 years ago. Not that I was big into that, but I might have tried it once or twice, something like that. And I was like, Mom, why'd you touch drugs at all? Why'd you date so many guys and all this stuff? I'm like, you don't understand the pressure. If you didn't date a lot and do drugs, then you were at home playing Yahtzee with your parents. Okay. Yeah. Those were your two options. And I definitely didn't want to be one of the kids or young people, at home playing Yahtzee with your parents. And that's where the internet has changed things, because you really used to have to circulate in person in order to get any kind of headway, and just hopefully maybe run into one person who has some crap together that you can make an impression on, that you can, maybe then network with. And so it was just a different world. We had to spin our wheels a lot,
Yeah,
finding friends and making friends. And now we're also focused, and maybe it's because of inflation, or maybe it's because we have those levers to pull. Maybe in the past it's like, well, all we could find was the jobs we could get based on the people we know, and now we can network so quickly
yeah,
compared to before.
yeah. I saw a couple of young guys doing a TikTok thing. One of them I know I've interviewed on this, and he's he's massive in the industry, and they were like, he's 25 and the other guy's probably the same or younger, and they were just like blah, 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 and they've got their own studios, these beautiful studios. I'm thinking they would sit home on a Saturday night and do lives and stuff because they realise they don't need, like you said, there's no peer group pressure to go out. Like everything's online. They can be talking to people overseas. They can have these networks. They get enough of a pump out of that they don't need to hit a nightclub and get drunk, all that sort of stuff. So the world is changing. Like there's, the younger generations now too. They're going out and they're doing stuff. They're living lifestyles. They're going on holidays. They're going backpacking. They're doing all this sort of stuff. I'm probably a bit older than you, but when I was younger, there was no mobile phones. Like you went out to a nightclub,
Right.
you got cut from the herd. That was it. You're on your own. You had to find another group of people to go and start.
True. And no Ubers, and good luck getting a taxi.
I did like a 5-hour walk from the city once, and it would have been longer, but I hitchhiked on the freeway and got a lift. I mean, that's how you're out. If you're out the money and you're out. Our kids don't understand that. We had no internet.
Ditching your ride was like that friendship was over. Like if someone ditched you somewhere and you're left with strangers and you didn't have a ride home and you had to get a payphone, and if you were lucky enough to find one, you had to have a quarter, and then you'd use a payphone to call maybe your grandma
Yeah.
to buy a phone at home, and then grandma has to, put her bifocals on and come out and come get you. And that friendship, whoever left you, that
Absolutely.
friendship is over.
Absolutely. That's hilarious. But now you get ghosted or cancelled, you just go into another Facebook group or somewhere else and start again. It's that easy. You know what I mean? It's that easy. Or you just sign up to something else, or you just keep rolling stone gathers no moss. You just keep moving now. But you're right. You had to physically front up to places. And I say to my sons, you go somewhere and every bloke was just staring at you going, what are you looking at? And you're going, nothing. And you're calling me nothing? And they want to fight you. And I'm like, you go out now and it's a little bit more easy. Like there's not that aggression as much now. So some people seem to think the world's going backwards, but I seem to think it's positive stuff moving forward. And technology can be used for what we're using it for, and for good, and connecting of people. And networking is one of those things that if you're in the real estate space and you're not networking on a daily basis, you're missing out. And like I said, you're in a group, be daring enough to throw your link in there or to do something. Some people might get a bit angry, but other people will say, yeah, I'll come on your podcast, or I'll, and then just even talking today, it was like, oh yeah, well, here's an idea about international, let's talk later, and that's how you network and opportunities come up. And like you said, the more places you put yourself, there's mentors and people who have been in the business for 30, 40 years just sitting there going, I'm looking for some younger people to come in my business that have got some drive, and they'll just sit and watch. So if you're consistent and you're out there doing stuff, they'll reach out to you eventually. And I've been lucky enough, I've had to network because I'm in another country, and I'll continue. I've just opened my Facebook group. It's been shut down for 8 months, and I've just opened it again and just did a video the other day saying, hey, let's rock and roll. I've had to have some time off, but let's start networking. And it's about JVing and networking and building up stuff. So I want to jump back in that and connect with a lot of people again, because to me, it's your number one tool in business is networking.
That's right.
Virtually and through all the stuff like Facebook groups and apps. And although I do want to get on the plane and come over and actually physically meet a lot of people, it's still good. I've built some really good relationships long term with people via Zoom. So
right.
it's probably
something. having built businesses both via Zoom and in person, it goes faster in person, but interestingly, it goes smoother somehow for me anyways if we've never met in person. I don't know
Yeah.
why. So I
Yeah.
had I used to go around and speak, and I would have them in as clients, and for some reason those relationships would end up a little bumpy. I don't know why. I don't think I was different. Maybe their expectations were different. I have no idea. Maybe I'm not smart enough, or I don't have enough distance or years yet. But people that I meet online, I never have any problems with them as clients or otherwise. It's just smooth as hot butter. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why I'm saying that is like, yes, things go faster in terms of people know, liking, and trusting you in person. But that doesn't always mean it goes more smoothly, and I have no idea why. I'm sure it's just a weird quirk for me or an anecdotal quirk for me, but I'm sharing that because I don't need to spend money you don't need to spend expecting results that you don't have to, right? Just do it because you want to. Don't do it because you feel like that's what you need to do, right? Because I've built big businesses with people I will never see in person ever in my life.
Yeah, absolutely, especially now and forward. That's a great point, and I tend to agree with that. I think you can, if you got your workspace set out and you're in there and you're focused and you're doing Zoom call after Zoom call, and you're jumping in this and jumping in that. You got your Google Calendar all filled out over here on this computer.
Yeah,
you're highly efficient, and you're not getting bothered when you
that's right.
when you go and you do business. You've got to drive there. You got to meet the people. Like, oh, hang on, I've just got to go out and answer this, and I'll do. It's a lot of time wasting.
Exactly. And I think, if you read the book, The 48 Laws of Power, I think the reason why maybe meeting them in person is that one of the laws that Robert Greene talks about is that friends become spoiled and tyrannical. So they feel like they're your friends, and then they feel more entitled.
Yeah.
And I think where maybe the problems might have come in was they felt more spoiled and tyrannical. They felt more entitled to something. I don't know if it was time, emotion, results. I have no idea, but we have to be careful.
Yeah.
Remember, always keep business and personal completely separate, because one bleeds into the other, and it's never pretty. It's just never pretty. I know people say, well, Jen, my work buddies are my best friends. Well, break your ankle like I did and see how many of them send you a text to even see how you're doing and then not ask for something right after.
Yeah.
They are not your friends. Now, they can be well-wishers. They can be, allies. I think allies is probably a more appropriate term, but a friend is someone who, like Daryl helping me take my boot off from my broken ankle before I get in the bathtub. Like, that's real intimacy.
Yeah.
And let's not confuse the two, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's another good point. We're getting some gold nuggets here. Probably less real estate, but more life gold nuggets. And it doesn't matter. That's what it's a people's business. So we'll take all those gold nuggets. Familiarity breeds contempt. That's what my boss used to say to me.
Yeah, that's probably hard.
Familiarity breeds contempt. If you get too familiar with people in business, they start to breeds contempt. So, look, it's great to, there's a lot of people I've been very friendly with, but you still got to keep that business. You can't expect anything. You can't expect, as we call it in Australia, mates rates. You don't get mates rates. You get, and I've done a heap of love jobs over the years with my trade, but it's mainly been for family. But even then, I extended it out too far, and then 10 years later, you go, yeah, probably too generous there. But the old mates rates, it's like most people now in Australia will say, look, I don't want you to do it for mates rates, just give me the proper price. I'd rather you do it, and I know you'll take care of me. So that's a good enough bonus.
Like that, yeah.
As it is, you shouldn't expect any favours, but no, look, that's great, Jennifer. You've just, once again, we haven't spoke too much about real estate, but there's a lot of stuff there. Probably just about how you conduct yourself, how you network, about how this business is a people business, and it obviously with what you do, you have to be able to relate to people. And I mean, just the stuff you've said to me, it's like your brain's going like you're able to adapt and understand people straight away. And I think that's, apart from the nuts and bolts of real estate, a lot of people getting into it should actually start, read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
That stuff is amazing, because once you start actually learning how to do that, you actually almost get high on it. You enjoy other people a lot more once you know how to relate to other people. And I think, look, I just know through this podcast I've met especially a few Texans who I've only met they've been Facebook friends. I've done a podcast, I spoke to them for half an hour afterwards, and they've said to me, when you come to Texas, Graham, you come and stay in your ranch and I'll show you how I built my business. And I mean, look, that's amazing.
Yeah, do it.
Oh, I can't wait. First ever deal I ever did with proof of concept when wholesale deal was in Fort Worth, Texas. So I've got my ex-wife's cousin lives in Grapevine, which is between Dallas and Fort Worth. So Texas is my first market, and I've met a lot of people there, and I've got a lot of fond friends there. But hey, I've got another one now. I'll drive up through Dallas and come and see you and Daryl and the kids, and we'll start plotting our international business. We're like Dr. Evil with
We would love that. Yeah, we live right off the highway, just like I said, about an hour north of Dallas. So it's easy to get to us. You don't have to, take some long, crazy back roads. We can see the highway easily from our backyard, like maybe 200 yards at the most, something like that, right? So we're easy to get to.
We're up at about 51 minutes. You've probably got something else you've got to do, after 60 minutes. I know we were booked in for a Zoom call before this. We're going to be on Zoom. Now, I just the old thing, if you had a group of people come up to you in the street and you could stand back on a few steps and elevate yourself, what would you yell at to the crowd, your biggest bit of advice about starting in the US real estate business now? Whether you're a wholesaler, you're going to do buy and hold, or you're going to do what you do, bringing people together and that, what would be your biggest bit of advice for someone starting off?
Pick a skill set that you're really interested in, that you think you'll be good at, master it, and then bring it to the public, and then expand from there. So if you're starting with no capital, build a skill set and work at it. You can be the best realtor you could possibly be the best wholesaler you can possibly be the best lender you could possibly be the best construction worker you could possibly be. There's a lot of ways to slice the orange of real estate, and every way is juicy. So you kind of tap in. Or maybe if you're like my son and you're really analytical, maybe you need to be an underwriter for a lender, right? So there's so many different ways to tap into your natural skill sets. For me, it was psychology, right? So yes, I have to know all the technical things of all these loans. I mean, especially because I have like a $10 million loan right now. So I know how to do that, but you have to ask me questions about that. My brain doesn't just naturally gravitate towards that, but I do it because that's what people need from me, right? And so whatever it is your skill set is, go from there. And also, if you don't feel like you're particularly good at anything, just go for what's the most profitable, right? Everything is hard. Everything is hard, so choose your hard. Choose your hard that's the most profitable. That's why I like commercial loans, because they're just as much work as all the other kinds of loans, but I have less competition. They're a lot more profitable. So kind of try to go in directions that other people don't go. My friend Matthew Marinoff does something called short sales. I don't know anyone else who does that. I know there's a few. So try to pick something that's niche and difficult and pays well, and you'll find you have very little competition.
I know Matthew. I've got to get him on. I've just got to get the swear filter on for him to come on, because he lets his sleeves go. We were actually going to do a podcast from our cars, because he's always in his car doing things. So we're going to try and do that.
You know Matt?
Yeah, Matt. But once again, there you go. He's the man. He specialises in that.
Tell guy, man.
Yeah. Just one last question with that. Do you think, like, if you've got a personality strength in an area that leads to that, like, if you can talk a lot, maybe acquisitions or disposition, is that what you're saying? Like, even look for some of the strengths you've got to make it easier to start off in something? Yeah.
Right. Because it's not like, people take me on as a broker, as a lender, not because of my amazing track record of all the deals that I've closed, because I'm relatively newer than guys who've been doing it, 30, 40 years, obviously. But because they see the network that I have, they're like, Jen, you have the hard part down, which is bringing in clients.
Yeah.
Learning the specs of the loans, that's the easy part. So yeah, we've got guys who are really good at knowing specs of loans and words you don't know.
Yeah.
But they don't bring in clients like you do.
Yeah. All right, beautiful. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks, Jennifer. It's been a pleasure to finally meet you and talk to you. And yeah, there's some gold nuggets you've thrown out. And how do people reach out to you? What's the best way to get you? Is it on Facebook or?
Yeah, so Facebook's great. So it's facebook.com/elite deal finder / So there's Facebook, or you can email me at Jen, Jen as in Nancy, Jen at reidatasource.net. So REI is in real estate investing, datasource.net. So Jen at reidatasource.net.
Beauty. What I'll do is I'll get you to shoot it through a message, and I'll put it in the notes so that so it's there if people want to reach out to you. But no, awesome. Been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me for the first podcast for the year. And we had a few technical problems at the start, but we're ready to go. And hopefully it's a big year. We can get more guests like yourself that come on and really share their expertise to people and try and educate people on how to climb up the ranks and not just, like you said, the nuts and bolts, but also the personality traits you need to work on to be able to do business at a high level once you get up and rolling. So awesome. I hope you have a great weekend. I think it's a Friday night over there. Friday night.
Yeah, it is a Friday night.
Yes, I have a great weekend, and I'll definitely reach out to you and catch up with you, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep reading your Facebook stories because some of them raise an eyebrow. So that's actually how I first come across it. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So keep being you and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Graham. I appreciate you. Thank you for this opportunity to.
No worries.